So, I was contemplating the gene key that is active right now, that is the 60, and I would love to share some insights and some quotes with you. This gene key has been active kind of on the past 5 days, so maybe it's also a way for you to contemplate it, and maybe to inspire you to listen to the Richard Rudd audios also. On the shadow, is the shadow of limitation, and it speaks a lot of the limitations and the structures, of the importance of structures in our life, but also how sometimes the structure can be a kind of imprisonment, a prison that we allow ourselves to be surrounded by, and that this limitation, he goes and says, limitation isn't the enemy, our attitude is the potential enemy. And he says, use the structure, but don't become a victim of the structure, and then you are free. And all these processes, it goes through the imprisonments and the structures that we have to suppress in a way. We start in the mind, and then eventually we go to the emotional system, and when we transcend that, we go to our very own DNA, that eventually even that DNA we are able to transcend it. And on the gift of realism, what changes is this attitude towards the limitation. And where limitation is no longer our enemy, we use it for our own evolution. A structure as a means to an end. And he speaks about our relationship with these structures. And he goes, how many of us are holding that too lightly, and how many are willing to drop them if a transformation occurs? How many are caught in the web of them, and it is the structure that has taken them? The gift of realism needs a structure, but knows that ultimately all structures are doomed. All roads lead to death. That is realism. I'm quoting here. And he speaks about like every structure eventually crumbles. Even the Roman Empire eventually crumbled to give space to new. And the gift of realism knows this and is able to embrace change. He has this beautiful quote where he speaks of this gift realizes the power of the path and of the traditions that we inherit and the ancestral roots, and incorporates them. It honors them, but isn't taken by them. You need the old and you need the new. You need science and you need love. It's the balance between them. He speaks of kind of structure being, can look at it as being a form. And he goes like, you need a form to contemplate, but there's a lot more to the form than its content. This gift is also about being able to and know when to stand back and when to let go. When we go to the city, this higher state of awareness, we go into justice. And he has this amazing quote: justice isn't a retribution. Justice is a reward. It is given as grace. It's not taken as punishment. It isn't an imposition. It isn't a limitation. It's an invitation. It's an opening. he goes and gives an example of one of the hardest things to do is to be forgiven by someone you wronged. It melts you, unless you are in denial, and it forces you into a transformation. This city is about letting go, even of all the fame or all the power. The moment when you surrender to the city is the moment also when you realize that all roads lead to death, and death is the great equalizer. There's a moment where he speaks of the more that our being opens, also the more that we are given. And when we are ready for that, we get to be an agent of divine justice. We take up on the scenes of our fractal, of our ancestral lineage that we were born into. And full realization means that we agree to transmute that on behalf of the whole. Wow. And even when I was thinking about recording this video, I was thinking of like what language should I use? Should I do it in English, in Portuguese, or how should I do it? And he addresses the language as language is one of the final structures that has to go towards the end. And when language goes, thought also goes. And then we enter into the silence of justice. And in that silence, all things are justified. All polarities are annihilated, and we enter into sanctity. He ends with these quotes that I would love to end also. There are miracles waiting behind our limitation. And one day, justice will prevail.